VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the Internet at VCYAmerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And thank you for joining us today here on Crosstalk on the VCY America Network. Well, for some time, we know it has been the plans of this president in order to advance an amnesty-type program here across the United States. We know illegal immigration is a problem across the nation, but what do we do about it? Where are things sitting right now legislatively on this? What are the concerns regarding the legislation that is pending? And will we see action here in 2014 pertaining to the matter? We've got a number of issues to discuss. It's our privilege to have with us today William Gheen, who is the president and founder of ALIPAC, that's Americans for Legal Immigration PAC. He is a former sergeant at arms and legislative assistant for the North Carolina General Assembly. He's known nationally for his motto, "It is going to take Americans of every race, political party, and walk of life working together to address America's illegal immigration crisis." William, nice to have you with us today.
Glad to be back.
You call illegal immigration a crisis. What do you mean by that?
I call it a crisis and also a form of invasion. Illegal immigration is causing a lot of problems across the country, including lost homes and jobs and lives of American citizens that are losing their lives, losing their jobs, losing their homes because our existing immigration and border laws go largely or inadequately enforced. Of course, the politicians like Obama will claim record numbers of deportations and things like that. When you look more closely at it, you'll see that there's a gross negligence of immigration law enforcement, and that somewhere between 20 and 12 million illegal immigrants roam the nation working freely with little to fear from any type of immigration enforcement.
Give us that number again.
Somewhere between 12 and 20 million illegal immigrants are roaming the country today, and each individual has less than a 1% chance of being deported or facing any type of immigration law enforcement.
Now, you used three phrases a bit ago: losing lives, losing jobs, losing homes. And I'd like you to give us a little bit more on that. What do you mean by losing lives?
Well, a lot of illegal immigrants just come here to work and other things like that, but most of them are also involved in broader criminal conduct. The half of illegal immigrants across the border do so by paying the drug importing murderous cartels that have killed over 50,000 people in Mexico in the last 5 years. Most illegal immigrants engage in document fraud and identity theft, which harms Americans, can ruin Americans' lives financially. Many of them work a job that is also illegally for them to have, and this has an impact of depriving an American or an unemployed American or a legal immigrant of that job, or depreciates wages. If they still have a job, it could depreciate their wages to where they can't make ends meet anymore. And we've just gone through an unprecedented number of foreclosures in this country since the Great Depression. So illegal immigration is leading to many thousands of Americans dead each year that are killed by drunk driving illegal immigrants, gang member illegal immigrants, engaged in other types of activities end up killing Americans that would be alive today if our border were secured and our immigration laws were adequately enforced as Americans expect them to be, and other countries do that. And then we have over 9 million jobs lost and billions of dollars worth of wage depreciation.
Well, William, those statistics you gave are staggering. The issues are staggering, and we could spend a full hour just talking about probably each one of those different aspects there. On this broad issue here, this past Monday, Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, she went on record saying that calling illegal aliens criminals is insulting, to use the term criminals. And I'd like to get your response to this as to those who break the law to gain entrance into our country. They break the law, and thus it seems they commit a crime. Or is a term of like criminal, is that too demeaning?
It is a criminal act, and some people say that it's a civil crime, but the only reason that we have illegal immigration as a civil crime is so that we don't have to go to a jury trial for every one of them that we catch crossing the border. Now, the second time that you're caught illegally immigrating to the country, then it does become a felony, and many lawmakers several years ago were thinking about making the initial impact a felony. Sonia Sotomayor, we opposed her nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court because we felt that her comments about a wise Latina making better decisions Caucasians than white people, we felt that those comments were racist. And her recent comment reinforces my opinion that she is a Hispanic supremacist, and that she is, and by that I mean that she is putting the fact that she is Hispanic and that most illegal immigrants are Hispanic ahead of her role as a Supreme Court justice, ahead of her oath of office to uphold the United States Constitution, ahead of the well-being of the United States of America. It appears to me, in my opinion, that Sonia Sotomayor is both a racist and Hispanic supremacist because she is willing to put all of her personal feelings dealing with ethnicity ahead of the law and the Constitution.
William Gheen is with us today from ALIPAC. There are, as you have written about this too, about several states that are seeking to provide driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. Is this something you support, or is this something that concerns you?
Well, we oppose licenses for illegal immigrants, as do more than 77% of American citizens, according to national polls that were widely reported about 3 or 4 years ago. Back before Governor Eliot Spitzer fell from grace over his prostitution scandal, his numbers had already imploded to the point where he was deemed unelectable by many consultants after he tried to lead a national charge to get licenses for a special form of documentation for illegal immigrants in New York. This broke press nationally, and he came out pushing it, trying to say it's a great idea, makes our roads safer, blah, 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 blah. And then they did a national poll and found that 77% of Americans oppose licenses for illegal immigrants. The reason that 77% of Americans are wise enough to oppose licenses for illegal immigrants is that they know that giving licenses to illegal immigrants aids and abets them in their crimes of being in the country illegally, stealing an American job, stealing American taxpayer resources such as welfare and Medicare and Medicaid and all of that. So that's why they oppose it, and that's also why groups like our group, ALIPAC, Americans for Legal Immigration PAC, we had been successful in helping turn off the license magnet, which we know that licenses for illegals draw them in, because my home state of North Carolina, it took us 4 years to get North Carolina to stop giving licenses to illegal immigrants. And during those 4 years that we were trying to do that, illegal immigrants made North Carolina a top destination in the country because they need and desire those licenses. Unfortunately, we have elite groups of people like Mayor Bloomberg and others that all want to give them the licenses, and it's part of a broader plan, in my opinion, to force an economic union on this continent that is not authorized by the Congress or the people here. So
are we talking about a few states or a multiplicity of states?
The illegal immigrant supporters and the illegal alien invasion supporters are pushing for licenses in about every state. Licenses and in-state tuition for illegal aliens, in our opinion, is two essential components to what we call the North American Union, or the drive to unify the economies of this nation by merging the workforces and the populations of Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Mm-hmm. This is a nation-building type thing that we've played a strong role in illuminating and creating language for to convey the dangers to our fellow Americans. And we've got billionaires like George Soros and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Chinese and Saudi national wealth funds all driving this plan to merge the United States with broader powers that be around us in a way that is outside the Constitution, in defiance of existing federal law, costing the lives of thousands of Americans, ruining the lives of millions of Americans, and eventually will lead to a situation where traditional Americans, like those that have been here, for hundreds of years and descendancy, will no longer govern our own nation. Apparently we don't now, since we have these existing immigration laws that are not being forced. Let me check my notes on that for just 1 second. I've got some more I might want to expound on in a minute. I'm going to pull up some notes while we continue to talk.
William Gheen is with us here today on Crosstalk, founder and president of ALIPAC, Americans for Legal Immigration PAC. He's a former sergeant at arms, legislative assistant for the North Carolina General Assembly. He certainly has been standing by his motto, it is going to take Americans of every race, political party, and walk of life working together to address America's illegal immigration crisis. Folks, these are some serious issues that are going on, and certainly we are seeing the president making moves on this. We have heard him stating that. And let me ask you about this, William, because we know that the president's been calling for comprehensive immigration reform, and we saw this legislation go through the United States Senate, a matter pending right now in the House. What can you tell us about this legislation?
Well, is right now, the legislation, there was legislation that, amnesty legislation passed the Senate last year, 68 to 32, and for those of us listening out there that didn't want to see that amnesty passed, our organization, again, ALIPAC, Americans for Legal Immigration, at alipac.us, we could really use your support because we were barely able to stop that nation-destroying amnesty. And the reason we call it a nation-destroying amnesty is a very simple thing, and this is one of the reasons that I'm no longer allowed on CNN or Fox News. This is what I'm about to say is what they don't want everyone to hear, and it's this. We have a situation where 12 to 20 million illegal immigrants have been brought into the country and aided and abetted by some of the largest powers that be on this planet, including Chamber of Commerce groups and Bank of America. And now they're here. The next plan is to give them voting rights so that, that there'll never be any change, and the next wave of illegal immigrants will be on the way. And so here we have 80+% of Americans saying, secure the border, secure the border. And the United States Constitution says that the border must be secured and all states must be protected from invasion. And the results of our elections have yielded members of Congress that have gone to Washington, D.C., debated laws, voted on laws, passed laws that were signed into formal law by presidents of the United States that are all being wantonly ignored and violated on a massive level, with the American public screaming, stop, we don't want this. We don't want 20 million illegals in our country. We don't want the next 20 million that will come if you give them amnesty. But yet John Boehner is working with Barack Obama to try to pass amnesty legislation as soon as possible. And the reason we call that nation-destroying is if Americans can't get their border secured now, with 80% of us clamoring for that to happen, that will become beyond the realm of peaceful political activity to achieve when a new voting bloc of 12 to 20 million illegal aliens start running the country.
Wow. Well, William, some who have looked at this legislation like you to either affirm or deny this, but they say this legislation provides loopholes that put amnesty before border security, meaning that we're going to go through and give all the benefits and allow you to become citizens before we even work on securing our borders, turning off the faucets. Is that true or false?
Well, the truth, in my opinion, after studying this for 9 years, is that the purpose of the amnesty is to permanently destroy the borders of the United States, to permanently destroy the type of what they would call nativist or nationalistic tendency for us to want to have borders and to protect those borders, or for the American public and American workers and American taxpayers to have any say on the numbers of people that are coming into the country or what role they will have. This is a type of, in my opinion, I call it a national rape, and I'm not being flippant about that. I really see it as that because it's a form of invasion that is being, done with such stealth and incrementalism that, it's like boiling frogs. They've got us all in the hot water, and they're turning up the temperature just a little bit at a time and trying to get us beyond the point of no return. The reason the amnesty legislation has been such hard-fought battles and so contentious and everything is because it is that point of no return. It is at that point that Americans don't have any type of political comeback to stop this invasion and mitigate the damages that they're experiencing from illegal immigration. And beyond that, once illegal immigrants are legalized. Now, one danger here people need to realize is that some of the Republicans like Marco Rubio and Boehner are going to try to say, we're not going to give them citizenship. We're just going to legalize them. And what's going to happen there is everybody knows the courts will swing in quickly and legalize them if Congress does that.
We're going to pick this up on the other side of the break. William Gheen is our guest here today from ALIPAC, Americans for Legal Immigration PAC. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, president of the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, did plants evolve?
Chris, according to evolution, both plants and animals evolved from an original single-cell organism which itself came from non-living chemicals. If you look in a book on plant evolution, you'll see many references to plants changing into other types. But when you look for the evidence, you'll be disappointed. Now, there is a lot of evidence that plants have varied over the years, but did they evolve from something else? We have lots of different kinds of algae and ferns and flowering plants, but no clue that any of these basic categories evolved from another. Each were created separately, just like it says in Scripture. In Genesis, we read that God created each basic type after their kind, not by changing one kind into another. Face it, Chris, evolution didn't happen. Now, creation, that happened, and we read about that when we go back to Genesis.
Thanks, Dr. Morris. This is Chris O'Brien. Thanks for tuning in.
The problem of illegal immigration and what to do about it. Our topic here today on Crosstalk with William Gheen from ALIPAC, Americans for Legal Immigration PAC. Their website is ALIPAC, that's ALIPAC.us. You've mentioned some names, and one of those was Senator Marco Rubio. Now, he has implied, though, William, that the illegal aliens covered in this bill will not receive public benefits, no food stamps, no welfare, no Obamacare, but others who have examined this legislation say the doors are open for public benefits. What can you tell us?
Well, a lot of the people that support amnesty, like Marco Rubio, Barack Obama, and John Boehner, one of the things that I think they all have in common is they will lie and say and do anything for more power and money. And that's how they got where they're at, and that's why they're such useful idiots to the powers that be that are doing this to our country.
You're pretty strong. That's pretty strong language.
Well, I mean, think about it. You know, we have a situation in Washington, D.C. where things are obviously not working well. The public is obviously not happy. They keep running from one party and one politician to the next, trying to throw all their hopes into Sarah Palin or John McCain or Barack Obama, and then eventually within a few months or years end up running screaming the other direction because although they said this and promised that, they end up doing something different, like a bunch of paid political actors. And then you sit there and look at immigration, and you see that Barack Obama, George Bush, John McCain, deceased Senator Kennedy, they all have the same immigration plan that's being backed by these power groups that, you know, never seem to change. So we have a two-party system that's really a one-party system, pretending to be a two-party system. John Boehner is not Barack Obama's opponent or enemy. He just plays one on Fox News. And anybody that would call that or say or scream, you know, out and point that out doesn't get to go on TV anymore. So we have that situation where these elites and powers, they don't change power just because of the way election went. Now, and then they come up with all these lies, you know, and code words. You know, one of the codes that they have is, for instance, secure the border first. You'll get letters in the mail and see ads in the elections and read the newspaper saying Congressman so-and-so said he's not supporting any type of immigration reform unless we secure the border first. Well, that's a type of lie. Secure the border first means secure the border never. Sure, they'll put that into the bill saying they're going to secure the border, and they'll go out and do press conferences saying, yes, we're going to secure the border. Then we're going to let these people who are here stay. The truth of the matter is, if they allow the people that are here to stay or lift or change the current laws to accommodate millions of them, that's what they're really talking about doing, is changing the law to accommodate tens of millions of illegal immigrants, there will be no borders in states. Sure, you can boo-hoo about it later and say, oh, but they promised they would secure the border. They've already promised they would secure the border. They did it when they passed amnesty in 86, the 3 million illegal alien amnesty that brought us to the 15 million that we're at now. If the American public is stupid enough or deceived enough to go for it again or let them get away with it again, let's take that factor of 3 and say, look, you know, within or 5, you know, 3 million turns to 15 million. You want to use that? Let's just look at the math. You're looking at 40 million new illegal immigrants within 15 years if they do it to you again. 40 million. Now, the one other thing I'll point out is another one that's going around, no special path to citizenship. Oh, Republican Congressman so-and-so said he's not going to support any special path to citizenship.
Yeah, no streamlining. They have to go to the back of the line.
Oh, yes, they have to go to the back of the line. Listen, it's not no special path of citizenship. It's no path to citizenship. And because if illegal immigrants are ever rewarded in any form or fashion with citizenship and voting rights, it's all over. There's no way that you, me, and the rest of the center-right Americans can ever compete with 20 million illegal immigrants voting in elections, backed up by the next 10 to 20 million that are going to pour through our ripped open borders right after that. You don't have to be a soothsayer or some type of clairvoyant to be able to tell the future here, people. We have the past, which has led us to this point, and there are groups that are supporting this that look really legitimate because you turn on the TV and it's John Boehner and the president's walking out from the State of the Union. Everybody's clapping, and the cameras are running and the show's going, and it all looks real legitimate as the president talks about the surrender of the United States, immigration reform. It sounds so pleasant. But the truth of the matter is that people that have no regard and in some cases antipathy towards the citizens of the United States are controlling these mediums, and their way of dealing with us, instead of using tanks or bombs, is to flood this country with people that will replace us in our jobs, homes, and ballot boxes.
William, this past Sunday, Governor Bobby Jindal told CNN that the United States should change its immigration policy to a high-wall, broad-gate strategy. He said that Congress needs to address the completely backward system, not because it's good politics for the GOP, but he said because it's the right thing to do. How do you respond to that?
The right thing to do is to enforce the current tenets of the Constitution and the existing immigration laws on behalf of the American citizenry and what we want. And what Bobby Jindal and all of these other Republicans sellouts are talking about is what the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, George Soros, and Bank of America, and the biggest money that is needed, because, you know, the price tag on running for Congress or Senate and President has just gone through the roof. They're trying to please those money masters. That is not designed to please the American public. The American public wants to see illegal immigration stopped and reversed. The American public wants to see our existing immigration laws adequately enforced to such a point that it makes it very difficult for illegal immigrants to run around taking things in this country like they do. The average American citizen wants to see legal immigration levels reduced to more traditional levels, down from the current hyper-legal immigration level of 1.5 million plus per year, which is more than every other nation on earth combined. These are hyper-unsustainable, nation-breaking levels. Sure, legal immigrants. You know, I'm president of a national organization called Americans for Legal Immigration because I value our legal immigrants, and I respect the immigrant tradition of this country, and we have a lot of legal immigrants that finance our organization, make it possible for me to be on this phone line with you conducting this interview, that are fighting mad about the amnesty push and the loss of border security. But the truth of it, because we support legal immigration doesn't mean we want more. We have an unprecedented number of Americans who have left the workforce, and a federal government that keeps having to come back to the debt trough every 2 months now for more infusions of printed cash that they're printing up in the D.C., while we go to the grocery store every week and try to buy LP gas and other stuff and seeing prices go through the roof. And the only thing that's keeping this country from complete anarchy right now is the amount of psychotropic pharmaceutical drugs and welfare and food stamps that they're pumping out to everybody right now.
Wow. William, I came across a very, very disturbing article yesterday, February 5th. It was put out by the Daily Caller. The headline, Obama administration unilaterally changes law to allow immigrants with limited terror contact into the United States. New exemptions to a law that bars certain asylum seekers and refugees who provided, quote, limited material support to terrorists who are believed to pose no threat from the United States. I thought, what kind of insanity is this?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Jim, because that's on my screen. It just came on my screen today. I've got 2 Obama articles on my screen today, and one is the one you're talking about how Obama is going to change the law, which he can't do that. He's not supposed to do that. The only reason he can do that is because the media is under his control, totalitarian control for him for the most part, and because Congress, John Boehner, is not really his opponent and is not going to stand up and say, oh, you can't do that, Obama. And if he does come up and say, oh, you can't do that, Obama, he's not going to do anything about it because he serves different masters. If he was really a true representative and a member of Congress like he should be, that cared about his oath of office in our republic, he would come out and immediately say, President Obama, if you touch that law and you change that law, that's a violation of your constitutional authority, and we're going to impeach you, and we'll impeach the vice president. Matter of fact, we'll impeach it down until I'm in charge, and I will enforce the existing laws. There's a remedy for all of this where the president and vice president can be impeached and the Speaker of the House can be put in charge to restore order, and that's exactly what needs to happen here, except it doesn't need to be John Boehner. We need a Speaker of the House that's like Congressman Walter Jones from North Carolina or Congressman McClintock from California. We need one of these firebrand, base conservative constitutionalist Republicans to be the Speaker of the House, and we need to impeach Obama and impeach Joe Biden down to that point to restore constitutional republic control and civilian control here. Those are the mechanisms that our forefathers built into this country to save us from the type of tyranny and abuse that we are currently experiencing. We're just having trouble getting to that point because the money powers control both the top Republicans and Democrats, and whether it's Nancy Pelosi or John Boehner in charge of the Congress right now, about the same things are going to happen.
And folks, understand this. Yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security, yesterday the State Department published these new exemptions in the Federal Register to provide to narrow the ban in the Immigration Nationality Act, excluding refugees and asylum seekers who had provided limited material support, no matter how minor, to terrorists.
That's right. You provided some kind of material support for terrorists in the past.
And
by the way,
we're laying down the welcome
if you're an American citizen and you do that, they'll put you in, you're supposed to be prosecuted and put away for a felony for that. And they're going to let these people immigrate into the country that have done that because that's what Obama thinks is fair. And then you pick up articles like the one that you're citing and I'm citing, where the biased communists over at the paper that write that stuff don't seem fit to even include one single source that has a concern about it, hardly.
William, there is mixed reaction right now in the House. I have an article here. It was a column with Paul Ryan saying it's doubtful that the GOP is going to deal with this issue in 2014. Others are saying, there's secret negotiations going on where Boehner is going to push this here shortly in 2014. Any inside word on this?
Yeah, we're hearing both, and what we're trying to do at Americans for Legal Immigration PAC is the following. One, we're trying to get everybody's attention out there focused on the GOP primaries right now. The filing periods are open across the country, and starting in the next week or so, they're going to start closing down in each state. As those filing periods pass, if you decide that you don't want to pay attention to them, if you decide that you don't want to go beat the bushes and find some congressional candidates to run against these traitors, then what's going to happen is a lot of these elections are already going to be decided, and they're waiting and looking at the primary season. They will move to try to pass amnesty with a couple handfuls of Republican traitors voting with most of the Democrats to do so if the 35 members which ALIPAC has identified for everyone are not facing significant GOP primary challenge. We have identified at least 35 of the GOP sellouts that plan to vote with the Democrats to pass a nation-destroying amnesty, and we're calling for strong GOP primary challengers to run against them. Because let me tell you, if you ever wanted to run for Congress and win, run against one of these clowns. Because 85+% of GOP primary voters do not agree with their plan to provide a form of amnesty to illegal immigrants. And they know that. So their offices, if you call Congresswoman Renee Elmer's or John Boehner's office or Eric Cantor's office or Paul Ryan's office or any of these other 35, they'll all argue with you till they're blue in the face. Oh, it's not amnesty. We don't support amnesty. We don't support amnesty because they know that, A, it is amnesty, and B, if everybody knew that and accepted that as fact, they would be out of a job. The people answering the phone would be out of the job, and Eric Cantor would be out of a job. So, we need people that will point out that this is a form of amnesty, that they are working with elites to throw the United States of America down the tubes. They betrayed us all. They need to be thrown out of office because the GOP primary voters are some of the most alert voters on the block right now. And they tried so hard in the last presidential election as they cycled through Newt Gingrich and Rick Perry and, about 4 or 5 other candidates before they all started to finally settle on Romney. The GOP primary voters are the most astute in the country that are trying their best to get it right. And if they get it right in the GOP primaries of 2014, Boehner and his clowns will be out of power.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America. William Gheen is our guest from ALIPAC, that's Americans for Legal Immigration PAC, and getting his take on where we stand right now as a nation on the issue. Have just a little bit more discussion, and then we'll open the phone lines here in just a few moments. You're listening to Crosstalk.
Most people devote much time researching and investigating important issues before making a decision or reaching a conclusion. Yet when faced with the most important issue of their earthly life, where will I spend eternity, they appear to be unconcerned or disinterested. Since God does not promise anyone tomorrow, and man's eternal destiny is sealed at death, Would it not be wise to investigate these things? That's the purpose of the book, Preparing for Eternity, in which author Mike Gendron contrasts the truth of God's Word with the teachings and traditions he was taught for over 30 years in the Roman Catholic Church. He found that eternal life is not merited by good works, but is given freely by God's grace to those who put their faith and trust in the Lord Jesus Christ as their all-sufficient Savior. The book, Preparing for Eternity, is available for a donation of $17 or more to VCY America by calling 1-800-729-9829. That's 1-800-729-9829.
You're listening to Crosstalk here on VCY America. Sharing his views today, William Gheen from ALIPAC, Americans for Legal Immigration PAC. And, let's open the phone lines here today to take your questions that you have, a comment. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree with our guest. Our phone number here is 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. The problem of illegal immigration and what to do about it. Our topic here today in Crosstalk. So let me ask you this, William. Here we are. You say we have 12 to 20 illegal immigrants that are here present in the United States. Where do we go from here?
Well, right now, we've got to stop them from passing amnesty. And to do that, we've got to get GOP primary challenges running. See, one of the things about 2014 is it's going to be very similar to 2010 and to 1994 when you saw a lot of Republicans sweep into office. That's going to happen because of a lot of factors about it being an off-election year, and especially an off-election year in the second term of an unpopular president.
But what do you do with the 12 to 20 million that are here right now?
Those numbers would start to decrease gradually and steadily as adequate law enforcement took place to stop people from giving them jobs, giving them licenses, giving them state benefits. We found that in the 1950s when Eisenhower deported quite a few, for every one illegal immigrant that you deport, another 4 or 5 will leave on their own accord. So we believe that the first thing we do is like when somebody has cancer, not to dehumanize illegal immigrants, but a lot of times doctors will start to shrink the tumor before they start operating. And so we need to shrink the tumor. We need to make it to a point where people start leaving the country and they go back to Mexico and they go back to Brazil and they say, you know what, I tried to break into the United States like all young guys did, but I couldn't get a job, I couldn't get a license, I couldn't get food stamps. And so I came back. That is what turns off the flow. That is what we have to do. We have to turn off the flow and begin to show that through law enforcement that we can reduce first of all, we need to show that, yes, we will really, really enforce the borders, and we will really, really enforce the laws, and that by doing so, we can reduce the number of illegal immigrants in the country. That is the number one priority. But we're never going to get to that if they pass amnesty. We'll never, ever be able to do that if we don't get people to run against and win against about 4 members of the Senate here. We need to take Senator Mitch McConnell out of office. This year, we need to take Republican Lamar Alexander out of office. In Tennessee, we need to take Susan Collins out of office up in Maine, and we need to take Senator Lindsey Graham out of office down in South Carolina. Then there's 35 GOP traders in the House that must have GOP primary challenges. Right now, people need to understand that the big business interests inside the GOP are all rallied around Karl Rove. And I'm sorry, if you are a Republican and you think we need to go back to the Bush-era Karl Rove that really wrecked this country as well as wrecked our image across the globe with people that used to love us after World War II, I disagree with you. And I'm a very, very strong conservative. But Karl Rove is coming out right now, and his job is to defeat candidates that we'll be supporting with ALIPAC and to preserve the candidates that are like John Boehner, Eric Cantor, Paul Ryan, these people that are trying to help Obama pass amnesty for illegal immigrants. So we've got to get people organized, and the main way we organize people is on our email alerts list at alipac.us, or you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search it on Americans for Legal Immigration. We need you in our network. We need you receiving our communications. We need you donating to the organization and helping us look for GOP primary challengers to these 35 Republicans that we can replace because truth be known, 85% of the Republican voters are on our side here.
William Gheen is our guest today, and just a point of clarification again here, William is representing his views. The comments pertaining to candidates for election do not represent the network or any of the stations here necessarily. We brought him on because he's concerned certainly about the direction of our nation. These are issues that are going before us here, and these are matters that our lines are open for you to interact. If you agree, you're welcome to call. If you disagree, you're welcome to call. I am concerned, though, also about this allowing limited terror contact into the United States through the measures just signed yesterday and put in the Federal Register. We'll get your reaction to that as well at 800-733-9829. Alvin in Alabama, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Alvin.
Oh, I'm glad to have part on the program today. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say, your guest, William, I think you kind of have an extreme view of the situation. I look upon these people as being my brothers and sisters in the Lord, like Malachi 2:10 says, I believe it is, have we not all one Father, hath not one God created us? And I've had the opportunity to work with some of these people. Some of them didn't have a green card, but I found them to be real ethical, honest, hard-working people. Matter of fact, more ethical than the average man on the street here in this country.
Alvin, let me just...
listen, I don't really enjoy hearing people talk about illegal immigrants somehow being better than Americans. I disagree.
Alvin, what is your thought about the rule of law? Alvin? Hello, Alvin. What is your respect for the rule of law? What is your respect for our Constitution? Is it we should piecemeal it? We take into effect what laws we like or not?
Well, I think we should respect the law, but there might be so many hoops for the people to jump through to become illegal, to become legal immigrants into this country that it takes years for them to get it done, and they're not subversive. They're not people trying to undermine this country. They just
do you suppose, Alvin, that those hoops are there for a reason?
Well, I think they're extreme. I don't know exactly what they are, but I've heard them discussed, and it seems like it's too much red tape involved. Otherwise, these people would come in legally.
Well, I have a question for you, Alvin. A lot of different organizations estimate that there are over 1 billion people on the planet Earth, most of which that live in extreme poverty conditions of Central, South America, Africa, Asia, that would come to the United States if allowed to. The population of the United States has grown extremely rapidly over the last 15 years and is now approaching 325 million. How many of those people,
he's getting to the question.
My question, Alvin, is how many of that 1 billion people would you allow into the United States?
Well, it has to be controlled, but...
well, you see, that's my point, Alvin, is if you give the 20 million that are here illegally, you will never control anything. You can't control it right now. You don't have control. I don't have control. Apparently, Congress doesn't have control of how many immigrants are allowed to come into the United States. And if they let them stay, because people like you call up and say they're just such great people, I feel compelled by the Lord to love them even though they broke the law, and we should let them stay because I don't want to feel bad about myself, you're never going to be able to control it at all because you can't control it now. You will have no hope when 20 million illegal immigrants decide to vote against anybody like you that would. Do you really believe that 20 million illegal immigrants, once they get the vote, will suddenly start supporting candidates that want the border secured, Alvin?
Well, probably not, but I don't think we need to just shut out and starve out the people that are already here and that have jobs and that are contributing to the society. Like the politicians say, we need to find an ethical way to do something about the situation without just really being mean to the people that are here.
Alvin, there's no being mean to it. You might not want a drug dealer on your street selling drugs to kids. That doesn't mean you're mean. You might not want prostitutes selling flesh down your block. That doesn't mean you're mean. Doesn't mean nobody is mean. See, these terms he's using, Alvin, are terms that have been spread around a lot by people trying to get people to accept amnesty for illegal immigrants. And it's some type of idea that if you're an American that wants the borders enforced or the laws enforced, that you're somehow personally mean or hateful towards Mexicans. And that's just not what Americans are about. Americans are the most racially tolerant people that have ever existed in human history. And we've got a situation here where our choice is we can either A, go with the laws in the Constitution and enforce them, or B, abandon them and leave ourselves wide open to unmitigated people pouring in from around the globe until everything you see here looks more like India and China and a place that people want to live.
Alvin, thank you for your call here today. We've got a number of callers lined up here, but let me just mention this. When you ask how many would you allow to come into the nation, he said, well, it would have to be controlled. And isn't that what legal immigration is all about? Is that controlled access here to the nation, that there is a system that one would go through?
Well, I mean, we've got a system. They're just letting 1.6 million people or more cross through it every year. That plus another million illegal immigrants probably entering per year. 2+ million people coming into the country. This is more people coming into America than have gone into any country throughout history.
Let's go to Zoe calling from Illinois. You're on the air, Zoe.
Hi. I agree with this fella a lot. Well, I do really totally agree with him. I do have a concern, however. On the other side of this, I'm concerned that this is also a ploy to make us so angry, and I am upset about the situation, but to make us agree to things that are going to hurt Americans, like real ID and tightening up borders in a way that people can't freely leave the country, even, Americans I'm talking about. And I don't want people who are going to go and apply for a job to have to submit to biometric identification and all this stuff. I want this problem fixed. I want people who are here legally what I think they should do is make it so that they want to leave when they're here illegally, that it's just not profitable for them to be here.
Exactly.
But I'm concerned about us losing freedoms over this because people are so frustrated and scared and worried and everything.
Thanks, Zoe.
She's right on the money, and it's really interesting that a lot of the groups that are the power players behind the illegal immigration invasion and the push for amnesty are also pushing real ID and biometric identification. Now, this is where, up until a few years ago, about half of the illegal immigration fighting people in America would diverge with me, and they would say, or at least they used to, I hope we're past all that now, but they used to say, oh, real ID is the way we can stop the illegal immigrants and make them not come in anymore. And I think it's made pretty clear now that my opinion was the accurate one, and that the powers that be want all Americans, all legal immigrants, and all illegal aliens all enveloped in a biometric surveillance society because they want to keep their form of security for themselves, of course, in their interest, not necessarily the interest of the people of Mexico or the people of Canada, the people in the United States, but they want to keep security through what they call a mutual electronic security perimeter. I know that sounds dry, but I'm going to say it again because I'm quoting them. It's called a mutual electronic security perimeter, and they want to stick all the people of Canada, America, and the United States into some big biometric facial recognition Orwellian society, which they're already doing. They're sticking us all in it already, and they want to just get everybody in it. And instead of being worried about the borders of countries, they're just going to track everybody's movement, and they'll know, when you shop in Tijuana or when you step out of your car in Toronto. They'll know who you are, where you are, and then, of course, there's nothing to stop them from expanding that beyond this continent. That can all be brought under more global control down the road.
You're tuned to Crosstalk on VCY America. Dorothy in Olney, Illinois, you're on the air.
Well, I feel like our borders, when people come in and the amount we've already got here, if I was someone that could wave a wand or have a pen like our president says, I would order them all to be put into a prison camp and fed oatmeal for breakfast and lunch and supper and water, and that's all. So they'd want to go home, and anybody coming across the border be shot. As soon as they cross the border, they'd be shot.
Well, we'll have William respond after the break. You're listening to Crosstalk here on VCY America. We'll be back in 1 minute. For
for the Worldview Weekend Minute. I'm Brennan House. Our website, worldviewweekend.com. Twisted Scripture number 25, Hebrews chapter 10. This really fits with Twisted Scripture number 24, Hebrews 6 that we looked at. But this is number 25, and it's Hebrews 10, but it's the same theme. Hebrews 10, 26 to 29, I'll just read part of it. It says, "For if we sin willfully after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful expectation of judgment and fiery indignation, which will devour the adversaries." Is this verse saying that one can lose their salvation if they sin? If after they become a believer they sin, they can lose their salvation? No, that's not what it's saying at all. What it's simply saying is what exactly was being said over in Hebrews 6. Those who receive the knowledge of the truth, if they come to know the truth of Jesus Christ and His Word, and that He is the way, the truth, and the life, and yet they reject it, and it goes on to say, and they trample Him underfoot, what can be done for them? Nothing can be done for them. It's talking about an unbeliever, not a believer.
William Gheen is with us here today from ALIPAC, Americans for Legal Immigration PAC. And, William, the prior caller said, well, lock them up, oatmeal, and then shoot as they try to cross the border. Is that a position you espouse?
No, it's not, but a lot of people want lethal force authorized at the border and to defend it, like in a military fashion. And, you hear that and say that a lot online and stuff. We think that it can be accomplished through peaceful yet firm means. Locking up illegal immigrants for a while and feeding them some oatmeal until you can get them back home, yeah, we're for that. All we have to do is just enforce our existing laws, which are just as compassionate as any other country. But also, I know we're running out of time here, so I just want to give a quick rundown of the members of Congress that are the Republicans trying to help Obama pass amnesty. I'm going to read through their names very quickly, if you don't mind, in case anybody out there is in these districts where we need GOP primary
just go ahead quickly through the list, and we'll go right back to calls here.
All right. Representative Vance McAllister in Louisiana. Representative Kevin McCarthy in California. Representative Fred Upton in Michigan is with Obama on amnesty. Representative and Speaker John Boehner of Ohio. Eric Cantor from Virginia. Renee Elmers from North Carolina. She's already got a strong primary challenger from Frank Roach. Trey Riddell was on board, but he's resigned in Florida. We've got Bob Gudlotti from Virginia. He needs a replacement Republican. We've got Representative Ted Poe from Texas and John Carter, both of which had convinced us all they were with us on border security. That Ted Poe and Carter from Texas are both supporting Obama's amnesty plan. Rep. Don Young from Arkansas is on board with the Obama amnesty plan. Rep. Daniel Webster from Florida.
Just give us the names real quickly here, because
Greg Walden, Oregon. David Vallado, California. Chris Stewart, Utah. Aaron Schock, Illinois. Paul Ryan, Wisconsin. Elena Ross Lethen, Florida. David Reichart, Washington State. I'm moving as fast as I can. Devin Nunez, California. James Langford, Oklahoma. Raul Labrador, Indiana. Peter King of New York. Michael Kelly of Pennsylvania. Sam Johnston of Texas. Daryl Issa of California, and it was Johnson from Texas, not Carter, I apologize. Joe Heck from Nevada, Michael Grimm from New York, Sean Duffy from Wisconsin, Mario Diaz-Balart from Florida, Jeff Denham from California, Mike Kaufman from Colorado, Jason Chavez from Utah, John Carter from Texas is on the list for amnesty. Spencer Bacchus from Alabama is retiring, and Mark Amodai from Nevada. These are the 35 known Republican members of the House that are secretly trying to support amnesty for illegal immigrants.
Let's go to Port Charlotte, Florida. Vincent, you're on the air.
Yes, I'd like to make two quick comments and one question. The first one is, I went to work over in Aruba, and while I was over there, they questioned me about, hey, why are you over here, and how long are you going to be here? And I'll tell you something, I felt really good. I said, man, these people are really protecting the Aruban people, not letting people come here and work and steal the job from the Aruban people. That's my first statement. My second one is that you're 100% right. We do need to get in here, and the Boehners and Mitch McConnell and them, we need to vote these people out to put fear in them, because that's the only thing that them politicians understand is when they start losing jobs. Now, my only question is this here. honestly, do you really think, and I want you to answer this, do you really think that we can get all of these illegal aliens out of this country? Me personally, I don't think so, and I'll hang up to hear your answer.
Thank you, Vincent.
Hey, well, first of all, I want to put him on the radio. I think he sounds better than I do. We don't have to get them all out. Let's start with some. Let's show that we can get some out, and then talk about how many we can get out, or all of them. The only people that are saying mass deportation or that we can't mass deport, hey, first of all, we can mass deport, and if we wanted to, we're Americans. We can accomplish anything we wanted to. They mass deported in the 1950s. They pulled it off, and several estimates show that it would be cheaper for us to mass deport illegal immigrants than to keep paying all the things they take out of our tax systems for the next 10 or 15 years. But we don't have to do that. We just have to show that we will, that we can, and begin the process. And right now that's not happening. Very few illegal immigrants are being deported, and Obama's been inflating his deportation numbers by simply counting the ones that they catch and push back across the border at the night, in the evenings. It just slip past this and get in the next night.
Let's go to James in Oklahoma. James, you're on the air.
Yeah, I just got one question for you. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but if you allow all immigrants to vote and y'all be U.S. citizens, not in the next year or two, but say 10 years, 20 years down the road, can they vote a Mexican in as a governor or representative or the president?
Can they what? Can they become governor?
Yeah, can they vote one of them in? If they're legal, now they get enough from here, can they go together and say, okay, we're going to put this guy in? And can they put a senator or representative or a governor or even a president as a Mexican?
Well, certainly a president is to be a natural-born citizen, but other law offices would not necessarily be the case.
Well, I would say that with 20 million illegal immigrants turned into a new voting bloc, they'll be able to do whatever it is they want to do and change about anything they want to do. And as far as putting people in, it is the firm opinion of our organization that illegal immigrants are already responsible for the re-election of Senator Harry Reid in Nevada, where he was saved by the illegal immigrants that were brought out Chicago machine politics style out of the casinos and restaurants of Las Vegas. Harry Reid beat Sharon Angle in 2010 because large numbers of illegal immigrants vote feloniously. Numerous felonies right there out of Las Vegas because Las Vegas and Nevada is so far gone and so corrupt, and those casinos and their power and the power brokers of that wealth are so supreme that nobody's going to stop them. So illegal immigrants are already affecting the outcomes of elections, especially in western states, and if they're legalized within 10 to 15 years, they'll be running the show in most states.
Quickly, Helen in Minnesota, you're on the air.
Hi. I happen to be a first-generation American. I was born 9 months after my parents came here from Norway, right before World War II. My father became a citizen probably about 3 years in coming over here. He had been here several times before because he had family here, and Norway was a poor, poor country. And my mother became a citizen when I was a senior in high school. They did it legally. It can be done legally, and the paperwork isn't so hard if you start out legal to begin with.
Helen, thank you so much. We are out of time. A quick comment, William?
That's what Americans support. I mean, legal immigration and people that come here with the respect for our laws and our existing citizens. That's what we're looking for. And unfortunately, 12 to 20 million people in the country right now do not meet that criteria.
And again, your website?
We're at alipac.us. That's alipac.us. Americans for Legal Immigration. Please get on our email alerts. We need your help.
And folks, thanks for joining us here today on Crosstalk.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Take Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208. Or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.